Alright, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a video of just how I achieved this green effect on my Dark Angels. So I'm more doing this so that I've got a record of what I did, so I don't sort of forget for the future in case I have to do some more of these. It's actually quite a simple technique, so I don't try and kid myself that I am some kind of master painter, and I do what I need to do to get nice results as easily as possible. So what I've done to begin with my Dark Angel, hopefully we can get a bit of decent light on this. Hold on, I'll just see. Getting too many shadows. Because different colour lights always affect the way the paint looks. So I was trying to get it just purely in natural daylight, but I wasn't getting it. Everything was in shadow. So what I did with this is I started off with Chaos Black. Oh, well, a deep black. It's not called Chaos Black, is it anymore? Abaddon Black spray, I think it is. Then I went with a all over Mechanicus Standard Grey, and then spraying downwards. So just basically heading downwards onto the model. I then used the Grey Seer Contrast. Now that gives me a good tone to actually start working with. Okay, so that's where things like these speed paints come in handy. So this is where we can basically take advantage of the grey shading that I have created to basically create a very quick and easy Dark Angel. So let me just get my standard base and brush out, and hopefully, you know, I know a lot of people call this the slap chop method. I'm not, you know, I don't believe it's right to call it a slap chop method, because that's not really what it's called in reality. It's using Gressal, if you want to be fancy about it and give it its more artistic name. And all I'm doing here is, as you can see, I'm getting my first layer of contrast on. I always expect to get it a bit, you know, uneven to begin with. It's always going to look on the first coat a bit rubbish. That's why I'm just trying to focus on one shoulder pad to demonstrate. And what you do is you make sure you push the contrast as best as you can. Towards where the shadows will be. So like the most of the paint heads towards the natural direction of where the shadows will form on the model. I've just realised I put my camera in a very difficult place to actually work here. I should have probably given myself a bit more manoeuvrability. So, and again, you know, just get where you need to get with it. And you can see I'm trying to do upward strokes to where the shadows would be if possible. It's a very uncomfortable position to paint in. I've really chose a bad camera angle here. This is why I prefer straight up overhead, but I've noticed that, you know, a lot of painters prefer to do more like this angle. So I think I needed to maybe have the camera face, the actual. Anyway, I'll learn from that mistake as I go through, eh? So what I'll do, I don't want to kind of make this video ridiculously long just to show you how to paint something. So I'm just going to pause the video, kind of come back with it in the right, you know, fully covered up, and then I'll show you to put the next layer on. Right, so now I've got my first coat done. You can see it's still not perfect. It's got quite a bit of streakiness to it, but you might be able to kind of notice that it's picking up the underside, the greys in its light and dark. So as we head into doing a second coat, hopefully that kind of horrible streakiness will disappear and will be replaced, fingers crossed, with some good tone and contrast. So again, I'm going to start in the lightest point and pull my paint downwards along the model. Try my best to head towards areas of darkness. Now, again, just trying to, because some areas are always going to be more difficult to get right than others. I think this shoulder pad here will probably, oh gosh, I've really put my camera in a terrible position to do this, haven't I? So this shoulder pad here, if I pull downwards on it, fingers crossed, what will start to happen is we'll get a kind of natural pattern to it. You can see that it's like picking up certain lightness in certain areas, it's getting darker in others, and quite a lot of that is about it picking up the underpainting. Again, for the head, pushing from light to dark as best as I can. There we go, and you can start to see how it picks up the natural colouring of the greys to create a nice little pattern, or at least I find it does. I wish I had a far better camera than I do, but I'm stuck with what I've got. And let's pull down on this part, and you can see my kind of, hopefully you can see here, getting a nice little effect down the backpack. It gets progressively darker underneath here. Again, heavily shadowed area this part, but because I've got a darker kind of paints, particularly where it's heading back towards the black and the darker grey, it's creating just the pattern I want without me actually having to really do much work. I'm not having to spend ages with different types of green. I mean, I know I'm probably showing techniques that have been shown hundreds of times before by different people, but we each have our own approach. Okay, so again, right, this is where it gets difficult on this thing actually. So I need to go probably from here downwards. Push the feet back in. Again, starting the light, head up to the shade. And starting the light, head to the shades. Okay, now hopefully you can see there, it's actually picked up some quite interesting tones as I've gone through. If you feel like a bit of it's just not gone as dark as you want to, then just apply additional paint where where you feel that it's really required, just to kind of add the tone that you want. But of course, just be careful, because otherwise if you keep doing it, you're just going to end up with a very dark coloured model, which is not what we're going for. But I definitely think I've got what I wanted there. You can see you've got the light and the dark just naturally fell onto it. Okay, now I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to go on to my dry brushing. Okay, now just for finalising this miniature and just making it how I want it. So Straken Green, doing the old dry brushing. It's going to be quite a heavy dry brush this, just to really get the light where I want it to be. I'm regretting my decision of camera angle, but I might as well finish what I was doing. Right now, it's just about making sure that it's light in the areas that I need it to be light. Now, if you're into extreme highlighting, you could highlight the edges of this. However, that's not my intention on this one. I believe that some forces really benefit. Oh gosh, I have definitely too much on my brush there. Really, certain colour schemes benefit from extreme highlighting, and others I personally prefer just a heavy dry brush. And then the heavy dry brush itself can sometimes engage in a certain amount of extreme highlighting, like you can see there. Hopefully, I'm really hoping that this is coming across on the camera the way that I want it to. It's got to be one of the most awkward areas that I've ever, awkward painting positions that I've ever been in. I'm trying to keep my hand in a position, but unfortunately it's right where my camera ring is. I'd have to admit though, I'm actually finding this quite useful, actually, resting my hand here on the actual camera stand. It's just, unfortunately, it sees my hand and it tries to focus on it, my camera. Probably hard to see what I'm doing with the feet there, because it's all the way down on the miniature, but I'm just doing the dry brushing on that as well. There we go. Right. So, you know, I don't want to pretend that I'm an amazing painter. What I'm trying to do is basically tell you that actually, if you just do some very simple techniques, you know, you can create something that I'm happy with. Now, if I pull across one that's more almost completed, because at this stage it's very probably hard to tell what it's going to look like as an end product, but you know, that's what we're going for at the end of it. So we're going for these kind of styles. Then the green will start to feel, it'll pop more, to be quite honest, I've found. You know, yeah, I think the colours matched up well. I think I did that good, you know, a few weeks back. So there we go. That is my own personal flavour of Dark Angels. Using basically a triple undercoating system. So complete black spray, not a full coverage of Mechanicus Standard. What you do is you just kind of try and mostly aim downwards with your spray can. I might try and, I think I've got a recording of me doing it anyway. And then finally, a downward spray of Grey Contrast. And then that's basically how you can use 2 paints to finish the job. There we go then. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.